Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from the death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good morning. And it is a warm morning indeed. Religion begins in faith. In fact, one of the names for religion today is faith. It begins with belief that there is something called God, something that is beyond death, something that is transcendent to this material universe. But it's a kind of post-mortem religion. You believe in God, don't be naughty, be nice, and then all will be revealed to you, but after death. So a post-mortem kind of religion. You get God, but after death. As we investigate more deeply, we come to the deeper understanding of religion as experience, not just belief. Swami Vivekananda said, religion is realization. It is not believing in this or that, in this person or that person, in this book or that book, in this doctrine or that doctrine, but actually living realization. And Swami Vivekananda in this country more than 100 years ago, he spoke about the techniques of Raja Yoga, Patanjali Yoga. And he showed how by practicing certain spiritual disciplines, one can actually get a God experience of God in extraordinary states of consciousness, in different kinds of samadhi. But let's look even deeper. You see, the problem with extraordinary states of consciousness and extraordinary experiences is, they say that, you don't have to believe in God, you can see God. Here are the practices. Now practice them severely, austerely, with tremendous discipline for 50 years or 60 years, and then you perhaps might get a glimpse. Now that is not very persuasive, We sort of say, all right, we can't say much against it. We sort of scratch our heads and say, because we know deep down we are not going to do that. In the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna taught meditation to Arjuna and taught the disciplines of meditation, meditate in this way and you shall realize God. It will become a living experience for you. You know what Arjuna's first question was? What happens if I don't meditate? Yes, suppose someone does not practice this to the conclusion, to actually realizing God, then what will happen to such a person? And Krishna, of course, consoles him. He says, you can carry on in next life and so on and so forth. But we can go deeper than this. Not just belief, not just some extraordinary experience, the vision of Kali or Vishnu or something, or some Nirvikalpa Samadhi or something. But an even deeper understanding of religion, of spirituality, of God is available to us in the Vedanta, where it says that the deepest possible understanding of God is found in every experience of life, not just extraordinary experiences, not just mystical trances, somebody said, which are open only to the spiritual athletes, to the Olympic athletes of spirituality, not to the rest, a common run of humanity. But Vedanta says God can be found and indeed must be found, ultimately has to be found in every experience of life. Not just waiting for a post-mortem experience of God after death. Who knows? Suppose I don't find God after death. Suppose God doesn't show up after death. Now I can't come back and catch you. You told me if I'm nice, particularly nice after death, I'll find God. It's too late. Not even extraordinary experiences of the yogis, but actual day-to-day experiences which we all have and are having today, right now, can we find God in every experience? Vedanta says we can and we must. This is the theme of Vedanta. Swami Vivekananda, he says Vedanta is most practical. He gives two reasons. One is because Vedanta insists that the truth is within us. And the second reason, he says Vedanta explains the truth through our daily common experience, everyday experience. In one of the ancient Upanishads, the Kena Upanishad, the student asks a question. Kene shitam preshitam patati mana kena prana prathama praiti yukta kene shitam vacham imam vadanti chakshu shrotram kaudeva yunakti. What does it mean? Very interesting question. He asks the question to the teacher, the highest question of spirituality. Impelled by what, inspired by what do thoughts come to my mind? Inspired by what, illumined by what do I speak these words just now? What makes my eyes see? What gives me the conscious experience of seeing? What gives me the conscious experience of hearing? What makes me have this experience? Every breath I take is a conscious experience. Now notice two things here immediately, what Swami Vivekananda had said. First of all, he is asking about the truth within. The student is not asking, sir, how can I see Vishnu in Vaikuntha, or God in his heaven, or Shiva in Kailasha, or any of the mythological ideas of God. He's not asking that. Not only that, he's not even asking, sir, teach me how can I get Nirvikalpa Samadhi. People used to turn up to Sri Ramakrishna because Sri Ramakrishna would have Samadhi almost every day, just about every day, many times in a day. And somebody turned up or people would often come to Sri Ramakrishna and they would ask, sir, can you teach us this Samadhi? Samadhi ta shikhiri te can you teach us this Samadhi? Do come up, there are seats right here in the front. Come up here. That is extraordinarily difficult. Can you teach us this Samadhi? Here, he's asking for the truth within each of us, not a distant truth. Not even an extraordinary experience. Look at the question. In the day-to-day experiences, every moment what we do, we think. How can I find God? What is the truth about thinking? We see, we hear, we speak. And what is it that? What is the spiritual reality behind seeing, hearing, speaking? So the two fundamental points, the truth within us and the truth in everyday common experiences. And what does the teacher reply? The teacher says, Shrotrasya shrotram yad vachoha vacham saum pranasya prana chakshushas chakshur atimuchya dhira pretyasmad lokadamrita bhavanti. He says, that which you are asking for, that spiritual reality behind each of our everyday conscious experiences is something, in hearing, it is the ear of the ear. How do the ears hear? Ear of the ear. How do the eyes see? The teacher says it is the eye of the eye, what you are asking about. How does the mind think? The student will go at this stage, I think, don't tell me, it's the mind of the mind. How does the speech function? The speech of the speech. And so on. What does he mean by this? When you say something is the ear of the ear, you mean two things. One, it is something apart from the ear. Right? When you use a phrase like ear of the ear, eye of the eye, mind of the mind, you mean something different from the eye, ears, and mind. That's one thing which we will mean. Otherwise, why would you say ear of the ear? Just say the ears. And simultaneously, not only different from the eyes, ears, and mind, but also it is something which pervades the eyes, ears, and mind. Otherwise, why would you say ear of the ear, eye of the eye, mind of the mind, speech of the speech? It is something different from them, and yet it acts in and through them, giving us the conscious experience of seeing through the eyes, hearing through the ear, thinking in the mind, speaking. So it is this consciousness, quite apart from our auditory system, our visual system, our mind, our vocal system, quite apart from them, and pervading all of them. Just like, what is it, if you ask, that enables the light, that bulb to give light, the air conditioning to cool us on this warm day, this microphone to amplify sound? What is it? And the teacher there, the Upanishadic teacher would say, it is the microphone of the microphone, the bulb of the bulb, and the air conditioning of the air conditioning. We would say electricity. But it means the same thing. That there is one thing which shines in and through all of them and apart from all of them, which enables the mind to function, the speech to function, the eyes to function, and the ears to function. They all do different things. They all do different things. The light gives illumination. The microphone magnifies sound. The air conditioning cools down this hall. The electricity by itself does none of these. But when it comes in and through them, when it energizes them, pervades these instruments, they all do their own things, what they were designed for. In the same way, consciousness within us, pure consciousness within us, in itself it does not see or hear or smell or talk or think. But shining upon our eyes, and it gives us the experience of seeing. Shining through acting through the ears gives us the experience right now of hearing. Through my vocal system gives me the first person experience of speaking. In my mind, in your mind, thoughts, ideas are shining. I understand what this guy is saying. Shining in the same consciousness. What is this guy saying? I don't understand. The very consciousness in which this thought is shining that I do not understand, that's the consciousness I'm talking about. That's the consciousness that the teacher is speaking about. The teacher goes on. One more thing. Have you noticed one thing, what he says here? He says, the question is, what is it that enables us to have the first person conscious experience of seeing, speaking, hearing, thinking? And he did not say there are different systems or subsystems. The answer was, there is one thing. There is one consciousness which shines through all of them. It is not that there are separate things which enable the microphone and the light and the air conditioning to function. It is one thing, one electricity. So there is one consciousness working in and through us, shining in and through us, which gives us this experience, seeing, hearing, smelling, talking, thinking, which we call otherwise life. And the teacher goes on to say, he expands on this theme. He says, if we realize this as our true nature, and then what happens? Then you transcend this empirical existence. You see, electricity transcends the microphone and the bulb and the air conditioning. If the bulbs do not work or the microphone does not work, electricity is not harmed thereby. You just do not see it functioning. That's all. In the same way, consciousness, becomes evident. It becomes evident when we talk, when we think, when we see, when we hear. But when we do not talk, hear, or think, or see, it's not that the consciousness has disappeared. It's still there, but not evident. I remember about 12 years ago, I met this monk in Haridwar. He was wearing a little loincloth, as Swamis in the Himalayas do when it's not very cold. Although some of them do wear only a loincloth when it's very cold too. I remember, it's not relevant, but just by the way. I remember I wanted to meet a genuine Naga Swami. And the Nagas are the naked monks who roam about in the Himalayas. There are some who are really genuine, and many who are not. I mean, just being naked does not make you a Naga. So I asked the Swamis, and the Swamis know who is genuine and who is not. And they said, you go to this place. I was in Gangotri at that time, 10,000 feet high in the Himalayas. And he said, you go to this place just near the bridge there's a big gorge going down some 500 feet. On the bridge near that, it's a hanging bridge. Oh, there's a seat here. You can come. Okay, fine. There is this monk. You can go and meet him. He's a genuine Naga Swami. And I went there, it was cold, maybe in the low 50s or 40s or something like that, or 40s or 30s. And this Swami was sitting with just a loincloth and ashes on his body and with a fire burning in front of him. And I asked him, what's your name? And he replied, Purnam Giri, one of the traditional names of the 10 orders of Shankara. And he asked me, what's your name? I said, the way we say, Swami Sarvapriyananda. The traditional way is to give your monastic order title also, which would be, the full name would be Sarvapriyananda Puri. Now this next part of it is understandable only to those who know Hindi. I'll have to translate, but I said, my name is Swami Sarvapriyananda. Immediately he shot back at me, a very fierce fellow. He shot back at me, Puri kaha gaya, sabji ke saath kha gaya. Now for those of you who do not know Hindi, you look mystified. I'll try to translate, but it doesn't work too well in English. Puri, the title, the monastic title of our order. So I am Sarvapriyananda Puri, and that's Mahayogananda Puri, and that's Ramakrishna Puri there. Another meaning of the word Puri in Hindi is a kind of chapati. It's actually, in Bengali you call it luchi. It's something you eat. A fried piece of bread, a puffed and fried piece of bread. And it's a delicacy. So it has two meanings. So he made fun of me. He said, what about the puri? Did you eat it up? So I said, oh, I'm sorry, Sarvapriyananda Puri. Incidentally, once Swami Vivekananda, he did not take these things seriously. These are taken very seriously by the traditional monks there. You have to know what your monastic title is. But Swami Vivekananda, he was irreverent most of the time. He knew its importance, and so he put us in the system, but he also said, don't give too much importance to that. So somebody asked him, Swami, again this will work only in Bengali. So Swami, are you a Puri or a Giri, the two different orders of monks? Are you a Puri or a Giri? And Swami said, neither, I am a Kochuri. A Kochuri is another kind of fried bread or something. So he would make puns like that. Some of them were awful puns, but it really worked. And in this country, when he came, people did not know the difference between Hinduism and Buddhism and so on. So somebody asked him, Swami, are you a Buddhist? Buddhist. Are you a Buddhist? He said, no ma'am, I am a florist. Anyway, back to the Upanishad. The teacher says, once you realize this consciousness, that monk whom I met in the Himalayas in Haridwar, I went to him, he was wearing this little loincloth and sitting there. And the first thing, before I asked him anything, he said, pure consciousness is perfect in its own state. You are perfect, pure consciousness. But how do you experience that? Look at this. How do you experience that? Then he says, electricity is there in all these wires, but you experience it only because the fan is going round and the light is shining. Exactly so. You are pure consciousness and you experience it because you see. See what? Anything. Because you hear. Because you smell. Because you taste. Because you think. Because you speak. Every conscious experience in our life manifests pure consciousness, manifests God. The teacher tells the student the remarkable series of mantras which follow. Yadvachanabhyutitam yena vagabhyudyate tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. That which is manifested by speech, but which speech cannot manifest, know that to be Brahman. Brahman is not something you can speak about. Swami, you are speaking about it. Well, I refer you to my last talk, the language of paradox and Advaita Vedanta. We are actually not speaking about it, we are only indicating it. But anyway, Brahman is something that you cannot speak about, but that which enables speech, enables us to speak. He says, that which enables us to speak, all these words that we say, know that alone to be Brahman. And then he says, not that which you worship as this. Na nedam yad idam upasate. That which you worship as this. Swami Vivekananda says, a God out there in a temple or in a church or in the heaven, he says very powerfully, it is sheer materialism. A God separate from you, an objective God, a thing among many things. Here are the pews, here are the people, here are the bulbs and fan and everything, and the cars outside and the trees and plants and dogs and cats, and one more thing called God. That's materialism, Swami Vivekananda says. That consciousness within, which enables these words to be expressed, is God, not that which you worship as an object. And then he says, Yan manasana manute yena hurmano matam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. That which mind cannot think about, but by which mind thinks. That by which mind thinks. It enables mind to think, but mind cannot think about it. Know that to be Brahman, that to be God in reality, not what you worship as this object. All our thoughts shine in the consciousness which we are. In light of that consciousness, thoughts appear. Shankaracharya writes in one place, the one who denies this pure consciousness, the pure consciousness is the self of that very person who denies it. Eva tasya nirakarta tasyaiva atmasa. The person who denies, there's no such thing. That very consciousness by which he thinks these thoughts and speaks, that itself is God. He's proving it. It's just like saying, I cannot speak. Well, you are speaking. The very act of saying that you cannot speak gives lie to the statement that you cannot speak. It's like that. It's so direct, so powerful. And he goes on to say, Yat chakshusha pashyati yena chakshungshi pashyati tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. That which the eyes cannot see, and yet by which the eyes are able to see everything else in this world, know that to be Brahman, not what you worship as this. Every act of seeing is possible because of the consciousness within us. You see, look at the difference. Machines can also see after a fashion. If you don't believe me, just go to an airport or somewhere and put your hand under the faucet in the washroom and it will give water. It saw your hand. Walk to the door, it will open. Walk to the door in the airport or in a big hotel, it will open. It will open because there is a sensor which detects your presence. So after a fashion, the sensors can see after all, see within quotes. But then what is the difference between us and that sensor? There's a huge, huge difference. The difference is this. We have an internal first-person experience of seeing. The sensor has no internal sense of, I am a sensor and here is a hand or here is a person. No. It's purely physical. If you don't understand this, if we can go a little deeper and it will become clear. It works like this. Suppose a man who could see becomes blind, and a sensor which was working stops working. When a sensor stops working, that's it. It's a broken piece of machinery. But in a man, what happens? I, by consciousness shining through my eyes, was able to see this world. Now the eyes do not work. I cannot see the world. The consciousness is exactly the same and unchanged. That consciousness within us is what is missing in that sensor, in that machine. That by which the eyes cannot see, and yet which enables the eyes to see. Know that to be Brahman, not what you worship as this. Yat shrotrena nasrinoti yena shrotram idam shrutam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. That which the ears cannot hear, now you can fill up the blanks. That which the ears cannot hear, but by which the ears hear all sounds. Know that alone to be Brahman, that alone to be God, not what you worship as this an object. Yat pranena na praniti yena prana praniyate tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. That which the nose cannot smell, or you can extend it, the tongue cannot taste, but by which you can smell, the nose is enabled to smell all odors and fragrances, the tongue can taste all tastes. Know that alone to be Brahman, not what you worship as this. Swami Vivekananda says, Vedanta does not destroy the world, it explains it. Vedanta does not destroy the person, it explains him, shows what real personality or individuality is. You see, what is going on in this body-mind system, what we consider to be ourselves, Vedanta explains this, tells us what it is. It is pure consciousness shining in and through the body-mind system which we call ourselves. When we do not recognize ourselves as pure consciousness, we say, I am Swami so-and-so, Mr. so-and-so, or Mrs. or Miss so-and-so. And when we recognize ourselves as pure consciousness, it is Aham Brahmasmi. I am one with God. I am Brahman. So, Vedanta does not destroy the world. Swami Vivekananda says, Vedanta does not say the world is in vain, really speaking. Vedanta does not say the world does not exist. Vedanta rather says, what it really says is, Swamiji says himself, what he really says is, what Vedanta says is, understand the world, understand what the world is so that it may not hurt you. That's what Vedanta tells us. Now one question remains. Why use such terminology? Ear of the ear, eye of the eye, mind of the mind, speech of the speech. Why not just say pure consciousness? After all, Swami, you're just using these words. Brahman, Atman, pure consciousness. So the teacher could have used it. Well, no. Here lies another interesting thing to understand. You see, all that we know in this world, all that we see, hear, smell, taste, all that we think about, all that we speak about, all of it has one thing in common. They are objects. You see objects of vision. You hear objects of sound, the sound which are objects. You taste objects. You smell objects. You think about objects. You speak about objects. This Brahman, this pure consciousness is not an object. It is rather the subject. It is the knower of all objects. It is that which shines upon all objects. It's not an object. Exactly like when I say, all these things exist. Swami, how do you know that these people exist here? They all attended the lecture. I'll say, I saw them. Follow this carefully. What is the proof of my statement that all of you have come here? Well, the proof to me is I have seen you all. How did I see you all? Through my eyes. The proof that you are here is that I am seeing you. Now, what is the proof that my eyes exist? I cannot say I am seeing my eyes because the eyes cannot see themselves. If the proof of existence is seeing something, then the eyes do not exist because I can't see my eyes. Then what is the proof of the existence of the eyes? The proof of the existence, follow this carefully, the proof of the existence of our eyes is seeing. Seeing what? Seeing anything. Some people at this stage will say, oh, seeing a reflection of your eyes in the mirror. No. Seeing anything. Anything that we see in our lives is a proof that I have got eyes. If you see your face reflected in the mirror, you're seeing a mirror and a reflected face, that is proof that you have a real face. Because what's being reflected after all, though you cannot see it directly. In the same way, the danger in saying that Brahman, Atman, pure consciousness, any word that we use, the teacher knows this very well, any word that we use, immediately it sets us off in a search for that as an object. Because that's all we are used to. Moment you say, if you discovered pure consciousness, you have discovered God, you have found God. Great. Now starts this enormous project of finding out pure consciousness. You'll never ever find it out. Because it's the one which is searching. How will you find it out? It's not an object. Because we have this tendency to objectify, to search, to look for an object. Even God we look for as an object. Even if you say it's your own self, you yourself are pure consciousness. Now I look for myself as a pure consciousness somewhere. In order to prevent that, the teacher uses a strange linguistic device. Ear of the ear, eye of the eye, mind of the mind. Keeps on making you look inwards, not outwards. You're seeing, look inwards. Not physically look through the eye of knowledge. So that's why this language is used. It's not an object we are looking for. The teacher asks the student, have you understood what I have said? Have you realized Brahman? And the student says, no, I cannot say that I have realized Brahman, and yet I cannot say that I do not know Brahman. And that's the perfect answer. People are confused. What kind of answer is this? And the teacher says, Yasya matam tasya matam matam yasya na vedasa avijñātam vijānatam vijñātam avijānatam. Wait for it. What it means is, the one who thinks I have known it as an object has not known it. The one who knows it cannot be objectified has realized it. And then he says, it is known to those who do not know it, it's not known to those who know it. This is the meaning. The Upanishad says, now we understand, we are wise now. Otherwise it will be mystifying. What is he talking about? And then comes the next statement, which is so bold, which is the theme of our talk today. The teacher says, what is spiritual realization? What is spiritual knowledge? It's not just having faith in seeing God after death. It's not getting some extraordinary vision of Shiva, Durga, Kali, or whatever. Trances, whatever. Those are all good and true. But that's not the final thing. What is the final ultimate realization? The teacher says, Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. When you find God, when you find Brahman in every experience, mortal man becomes immortal. What does it mean? When in every experience Brahman is revealed to us, pure consciousness is revealed to us. When we see anything, if we become aware that it is in the light of my pure consciousness shining through my mind and eyes that I can see these people and this world and this beautiful sky and earth and everything. Whenever you hear any sound, if we become aware, if we start noticing that it is because of I, the pure consciousness, shining through the mind and the auditory system, that I can hear this beautiful music, that I can hear this sound, that I can hear this person cursing me. It is through this pure consciousness alone. Yes, Swami Vivekananda says, good and bad both come afterwards. It is that consciousness first. It is in that consciousness that both the good and the bad, the nice and the ugly, they are all shining in that one consciousness. To the enlightened soul, it makes no distinction. Because the enlightened soul's attention, the enlightened person's attention is on the pure consciousness. Our attention is on the good and the bad, on the pleasant and the unpleasant. We forget, we do not notice, we are not aware of the shining background of infinite consciousness in which all these experiences are arising. Pratibodha viditam matam. In every experience. I remember that old Swami who told me more than 20 years ago. I was a young novice. He said, brother, we are missing it 1,000 times every moment. What he meant was, we are missing enlightenment 1,000 times every moment. Every moment, it is flashing before our eyes. It is clear, open, out there. Swami Vivekananda called one of his talks, the open secret. It's a secret, but it's also open. It's just in front of us. God is very clever, you see. The Swami I talked about in the Himalayas, whom I met, who gave me the example of the electricity and all, he also said, you see, when the world is out there in the midst of creation, God hides and we are searching for God. And when this entire universe is dissolved, when the big crunch or whatever comes and the galaxies and stars and planets all disappear and there's no life, no physical beings, we are all merged into Maya, the unmanifest. So we are hiding. God alone exists. And he thinks, where are those fellows? Where did they go? And he starts creation all over again. And then God hides. And so this eternal game of hide and seek is continuing. And we are looking for God. Now, where is God hiding? And God is extremely clever. Brahman is extremely clever. He's hiding out there in the open. There was this person who went on a train journey, a rich person, a long journey in train in India. And he had some money, a lot of cash with him. And there was this shifty-eyed person sitting across as a pickpocket or something, watching him carefully. And this rich businessman the journey started, took out the wad of notes, cash, and he counted it out, and this person was sitting, who was actually a robber. He just stared at all that money, and he made up his mind, when that person goes to sleep, it's a long journey, so he'll simply steal that money. And the person, as time came at night after eating, so that businessman went to sleep, and this robber stealthily got up in the dead of the night, and the train is moving, and crept up to that businessman and carefully searched all the belongings. Couldn't find anything. And every time the businessman sort of turned this way, he would get a shock and step back. And then he searched carefully under the pillow of the businessman, whatever. Couldn't find anything. And he was confused. And so time to wake up, so he went back to his bed all shaken and confused. Next day in the morning, the businessman got him, and the thief saw, he took out this bundle of cash and he started counting it again in front of him. This was intolerable. And the next night, which was the last night of the journey, the thief made a thorough search at night, taking all sorts of risks, and he couldn't find it. He was amazed. Next day in the morning, he admitted defeat to that businessman. He said, "Sir, I have a question. I admit I was trying to steal your money. I couldn't find it. Will you tell me where it is?" The businessman laughed. "My brother, I know what you are up to. So the money is under your pillow." There was a great devotee of Shiva who searched for Shiva so long and couldn't find Shiva. And so he, in a dream, Shiva, he sort of went to Shiva and said, "I'm searching so long for you, for the god Shiva, and I haven't been able to find you. Tell me how I can find you. This is very sad that I can't find you, my beloved Lord. So how can I find you? Tell me." And Shiva said, "It's very easy. I shall come to you tomorrow. Look for the man with no head." All right. And he looked around. Next day he was very eager. Everybody has a head. Yeah, everybody has a head. Where is the man with no head? Where is the man with no head? And it's only later, towards the evening, that attention came to himself. I can see up to this. "Oh, I have no head. You can see my head, but I can't see my head." Shiva said, "I am the man with no head," which means you are Shiva. You're yourself. Look around you. Look around you. You'll find everybody has a head except you. God hides in every experience that we have. Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. In every experience of seeing, hearing, smelling, talking, thinking, feeling, God is revealed as the consciousness which enables us to have these experiences. Think about it this way. I'll give you a little thought experiment. Let's do it this way. 4 stages. First stage is very simple. Here is a microphone. Look at the microphone. Now what are you seeing? What is this? Your first answer will be, it's a microphone. Come up. There's a seat here. Your first answer will be, this is a microphone. We'll take it in 4 stages. But think a little more deeply. Is it really just a microphone? Is it not you having an experience of a microphone? It's a fact. It's a microphone, fact, stage 1. Stage 2, little deeper. It's a microphone, it's an experience of a microphone, which I am having. Admit it, yes. It's not a microphone by itself. Right now I am having an experience of a microphone. I'm seeing a microphone. Number 2. Number 3 is that it's my consciousness, the microphone shines in my consciousness. The difference between stage 3 and stage 2 is this. Stage 2 is like light falling on the microphone and being reflected back. 2 things. There is a light and there is a microphone. Right? 2 things exist separately. A light and a microphone. And light is shining on the microphone. In second stage, we feel that my consciousness is shining on the microphone as if it's like light illumining the microphone. I'm getting an experience of the microphone. The third stage is, no, the two things are not separate. Think about it. The only time you ever experience a microphone is within your consciousness. After all, how else could it be possible? It's a truism. Experience means within consciousness. Experience means within consciousness. This transition from the second stage to the third stage must be taken. It's not a consciousness coming from outside through my eyes and being aware of a microphone. No. It's rather a microphone appearing in my consciousness. The eyes also appear in my consciousness. The body and the mind also appears in my consciousness. That's the third stage. And the last stage, I will not try to explain it. Today is not the day. Whatever appears in consciousness is not separate from consciousness. It is consciousness itself with the name and form of a microphone. 4 stages, think about it. Assignment, homework. Stage 1, in any experience, it's an object. Microphone. Stage 2, it's an experience of an object. Nobody can deny. Up to stage 2, nobody can deny it. From stage 3 onwards, Vedanta starts. The experience, the object is in my consciousness. It's not my consciousness going out there to contact an existing object. The object is in my consciousness. And stage 4, that object, any object in my consciousness, is not separate, is not different from my consciousness. No more than the table is different from the wood which constitutes the table. No more than the wave is different from the water which constitutes the wave. No more than the ornament is different from the gold which constitutes the ornament. Not only is God as Brahman, as pure consciousness, enabling us to have all these experiences, but whatever we experience in life is Brahman. Swami Vivekananda says, I have never seen anything that is not God in my life, nor have you. He further says, never approach anything except as God. Because if you do approach anything except as God, and we do it all the time, we approach everything in our life as everything except God. Desirable, undesirable, bad and good and nice and ugly, but not as God. Swami Vivekananda says, approach everything as God. Because if you do not, then you are affirming a lie. Affirming something that is wrong, perpetuating an error. So Swami Vivekananda says that I have never seen anything in life that is not God, neither have you. It is this pure consciousness within us which enables us to have all these experiences. It is good to have temples and mosques and churches, but the highest temple, mosque or church is the living the conscious being in the human body. This human body, or indeed any other body, is the highest temple or church or mosque of God. Vivekananda writes powerfully that symbols are good. Even the most sophisticated symbol, the highest symbol is man himself, is the human personality. It's good to have beautiful altars, but the highest altar is the living soul in the living body. This consciousness present in front of us as father, as mother, as brother and sister and husband and wife and child, indeed enemy and a disliked person also, is in a sense none other than God. All that we see is God himself. Swami Vivekananda says very powerfully, if you have ever felt the need to, you felt a desire to open out your arms and to stretch out your arms and embrace the world, you have felt God. That reality, existence, consciousness, bliss, appears to us as this world. It's because of the distortions in our own mind that we have these divisions of good and bad, desirable and undesirable. We chase certain things and we run away from other things. That's what we have superimposed. In essence, it is one reality which is your own reality. You yourself are appearing as this universe in front of you. A question arises, if this is so, then in a sense, I am God, I am Brahman. True, that is the teaching of Vedanta. A question will arise, won't this lead to evil? Won't this lead to immorality? If I say that I am God, then I can do anything and everything. Who can stop me? After all, I am God. So this teaching of non-dualism, that you are God and everybody else is God, that it can lead to immorality, it can lead to evil. Well, Vivekananda has two strong replies to this. First of all, he says, even if it be so, can you say that on the other side the same evil is not there? If you preach that God is different from you, has it led to a very good, a nice and moral and peaceful world? It has not. It has not. Rather, he says, on this side is the advantage that you will not be fanatical. It's only when we make God into an object that it becomes my God, different from all other objects which you call God. Here is a form of God which I worship. Here is the name of God which I worship as God. And every other form and every other name in that case becomes lesser or wrong or false. And now I have the right, the might of religion and righteousness on my side to dominate and crush and kill and persecute you. It is possible only when God is taken as an object, as a thing apart from you. You see, even in the commandments, you are commanded not to be idolaters, not to worship God as that's what it meant, not to worship God as an object, not as a thing, because God is not a thing. It is your own true reality. So, in this way of thinking, if we approach God in this way of thinking, then there can be no fanaticism. The same pure consciousness which is within me is within him, it's within her, it's within you, in all of us. It's within the Hindu, within the Christian, within the Muslim, within the Jew, within the Sikh and the Parsi and the Jain and the Buddhist. It's within the atheist. It's within everybody and every living creature. How can I distinguish? How can I discriminate? How can I persecute on the basis of language or religion or race or gender? I cannot. Because it's clearly, if you worship this God, it's equally present everywhere. Vivekananda, in his inimitable language, he says, every ant, little ant, is veritably the cousin to the Nazarene. The incarnation of God, the highest possible conception we can have about God, and the most humble creature, are in essence, not as manifestation, but are in essence one pure consciousness. What Buddha is, what Christ is, what Krishna or Ramakrishna is, in essence, we all are. Now, one last question and I'll conclude. What happens then to temples and churches? What happens then to rituals and devotional practices and all that? If this is the truth, then we need not go to temples, churches or mosques. We need not pray to a God. No, Vedanta in that way is never ever destructive. Vedanta says all these are helpful. All these are helpful. Each one of these practices, a devotional practice, a temple, a church or a mosque or a ritual or prayer, songs sung to God, conceiving of God as a divine being apart from us also. These are all helpful when we realize that they are all paths to the ultimate goal of realizing the pure consciousness within us and everywhere else. So it is not destructive. Swami Vivekananda says, we do not move from error to truth. We move from lower truth to higher truth. Not from falsehood to truth. If you say falsehood, what happens is it leads to fanaticism and then contempt and then destructiveness. I have got the truth, you are in error, let me mend your ways. If you do not mend your ways, I have every right to kill you. That is fanaticism. Vedanta never condones that. All the religions of the world, all the practices from the lowest to the most abstract can be seen as technologies, can be seen as methodologies, can be seen as paths leading to the culmination of pratibodha viditam matam, seeing God in every experience. This helps us to transcend our human limitations and suffering. Ashokanandaji in one of his lectures says, searching for where shall we find God? He says, foolish question. Where can you not find God? Who says God is hidden? Who says God is to be searched after? The God revealed, the Brahman revealed by Vedanta is ever revealed. It's the open secret ever in front of us, in and through all our experiences, in our day-to-day experiences. With eyes open, we see this God. With eyes closed, we merge into this God within. With prayers to Sri Ramakrishna, Mothers Sharada and Swami Vivekananda, that we may come to this realization in this life. This is the purpose of life. This is the goal of life. This is what we have all set out to do. Not just monks, not just nuns, not just spiritual aspirants, everybody, in whatever way we are trying to get peace and happiness, we are actually moving towards this end. So with prayers to the Almighty that we may all accomplish this in this very life by the grace of the Almighty, I conclude here. Thank you. Thank you. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.